Can I invite you all to sit down and our faculty and staff to sit down? Good afternoon and welcome. We are so glad that all of you have joined us today to celebrate the MD class of 2017. Let's have a wonderful round of applause. You are the 127th class to graduate from this school, and you follow in the footsteps of many legendary and distinguished members of our profession. We are so proud of you, and when I say we, I mean all of your faculty, our staff, and your family and friends who are here today. And before we start the program, I would like for all of you to give a round of applause for your parents, family, and friends who have been such an important part of the journey that you have arrived on today. For your parents. It is my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Lena Wynne, who was selected by the class to give the keynote address today. Dr. Wynne is Commissioner of Health for the City of Baltimore, where she is widely acclaimed for her leadership in public health and her advocacy work on behalf of patients and the public, not to mention her high energy and fierce dedication. We are particularly excited about hearing from her today because it was not too long ago that she was sitting out there where you are today as a 2007 graduate of this medical school. After graduating from Washington University, Lena completed her residency and fellowship training in emergency medicine at the Brigham and Women's Hospital and Massachusetts General Hospital, the teaching hospitals affiliated with Harvard Medical School. Before her appointment to lead the Baltimore City Health Department, Lena was an attending physician and director of patient-centered care in the Department of Emergency Medicine and professor of emergency medicine and health policy at George Washington University. She is an author of the widely acclaimed book, When Doctors Don't Listen, How to Avoid Misdiagnoses and Unnecessary Tests, and she has given many TED Talks and TED Med Talks. Her TED Talk on transparency in medicine has been viewed over 1.5 million times. As Commissioner of Health in the City of Baltimore, Lena oversees 1,000 employees who are committed to improving well-being and combating healthcare disparities. She has already had many accomplishments. For example, in 2015, when Baltimore was faced with an unprecedented number of people dying from opioid overdoses, she issued a blanket prescription for naloxone and saved some 800 lives. In addition to her extensive scholarship in public health and patient safety, Lena has conducted international health services research in Rwanda, the Congo, Nigeria, South Africa, China, Singapore, Slovenia, and Denmark. She is already recognized, including the American Public Health Association's highest award for local public health work, the Milton and Ruth Romer Award, which she received in 2016. We are proud of Lena's many accomplishments and the physician and public health advocate and leader she has become. Please welcome Lena Wynne.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. It's nice to see everyone here today, which is a really special day. It actually will only happen once, the day that you go from being a medical student to a doctor. And I'm extremely honored to be here to celebrate it with you. As you heard from Dean Perlmutter, my own graduation was exactly 10 years ago. And I sat where you sat in our fresh robes, overflowing robes, filled with anticipation, waiting for celebration, which you deserve because you've all worked really hard. Actually, being here today is giving me flashbacks, and not just because I'm with all my professors who I remember well from my time at WashU, But I also am having flashbacks to the anxiety of those first exams, even if they are pass-fail, which I think we're all thankful for. And there's also the flashbacks of the long lectures while we're waiting for the few moments to see the actual patient in the practice of medicine course. And then there's the thrill, of course, of starting on the wards in the third year, and then the wonders of, shall we say, a more relaxed fourth year. All right, so I see from the smiles that fourth year continues to be a good year here, and you all deserve to relax and be happy and to celebrate, especially in the presence of your professors and faculty. So many of my most significant mentors are right here at WashU, and I know that I will be forever grateful to them. So I hope you will join me in thanking all of our faculty and staff for their teaching, their guidance, and their mentorship. Thank you. Your school, our school, Washington University School of Medicine, is an incredible institution with incredible history. Since its founding, it has taken great pride in upholding the highest quality medical education and commitment to serving the community through clinical care and research. Now, this dedication continues on today through our dean, Dr. David Perlmutter. So please join me in thanking Dean Perlmutter for his leadership. We celebrate today with one more very important group of people, and I hope that you will allow me to share something personal with you. When I was in my second year of medical school here, my mother was diagnosed with what turned out to be metastatic cancer, breast cancer that by then had spread to her lungs and her brain. She was very ill after multiple rounds of chemotherapy and radiation, but somehow she made it here to St. Louis from Los Angeles for my graduation. It was the last time that my family and I were together. So I think about my mother every day, and especially now as I'm expecting my first child in a few months. And I think about my husband is here too, Sebastian, so you can congratulate him afterwards. But I think about my mother today as I see all of you with your families, because your graduation is their graduation too. Your hard work was made possible through their dedication and sacrifice. So thank you, parents, thank you, siblings, thank you, spouses, thank you, children, thank you, grandparents, thank you all the family and friends who are here with you today and every day. As we celebrate, I want to challenge us to reflect as well. My greatest joy in being a doctor is taking care of patients, and so I want to tell you about a patient. Let's call her Jessica, who I met when I was an intern in the emergency department. She was my age at the time, in her mid-20s, and she was a competitive swimmer and had some back problems. Her doctor prescribed her opioid pain pills, Percocet, Vicodin, OxyContin, and she became addicted to them. She began going to other doctors to shop for more. And at some point, she switched to the cheaper version that was more readily available, heroin. She lost her job. She dropped out of school. She was kicked out of her home. Now, I got to know Jessica because she came to the ED nearly every week requesting help for her addiction. She knew that she needed help. I knew that she needed help. Every nurse, every social worker, all of us who saw her knew that she needed help. But every time she came in, we would tell her that we couldn't find her an appointment that day or even the next. Maybe she would have to wait a few weeks or even months. So she'd go back home, she'd go back on the streets, and she'd relapse. Well, one day I saw her one last time. The paramedics found her unresponsive. They brought her to the ED, and she wasn't breathing. We worked for nearly an hour to try to resuscitate her, but despite our best efforts, Jessica died. Now, this is a patient who came to me, came to us in our hospital requesting help not once, not twice, but over and over again, dozens of times in total. And because we didn't have the help that she needed, she died. She died because I failed her, and we collectively, as our healthcare system, failed her. It is a profound and humbling realization that the limits of modern medicine are not just defined by the medical treatments that we spend so much time learning or the scientific discoveries that are still ahead of us. It's actually quite unbelievable. I mean, after all, didn't we go through all this medical training because we're the ones to save and to prolong life? But studies also show that less than 10% of what determines how long we live depends on the treatment that they happen to get. Because what determines length of life and quality of health isn't just about the health care that's delivered within the four walls of the hospital, but also about the other factors that contribute to health. Now, we see this right here in our backyard. Just west of us in Chesterfield, a child born today can expect to live to 82 years. It's pretty good. But not so many miles away, just north of downtown St. Louis, a child born today can expect to live to just 67 years. Less, by the way, than a child born in East Timor and Iraq. The reasons are complex, but they start from childhood. 2 out of every 5 children right here in St. Louis live below the poverty line. On any given day, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of children, of kids who are homeless. There's violence around us that we read about in the news, but there's also trauma, this deep trauma that comes from not knowing as a child whether you're going to come home to a roof over your head that night or dinner to eat. There's trauma from growing up in families afflicted by addiction and from inheriting legacies of discriminatory policies and structural inequities. It's often said that the currency of inequality is years of life. If that's true, then the opposite of poverty is health. Now, these other things that determine health, these social determinants of health, please remember them. Please remember that your patients don't exist only in your ER, in your inpatient ward, or in your clinic. They have their lives to live in their homes with their families. And your medical care has to extend beyond the 4 walls of the hospital. Make no mistake, of course, that this is hard. And in medical practice, and I'm sure that all of our attendings will attest to this too, that we are constrained by things like time, we are constrained by things like the system, and it may not always pay to think about the social context of our patients' lives. It may not reimburse. There's no diagnostic code for that. And some might even say, what's the point of asking if there is nothing that I can do to change these other factors in our patients' lives? But I challenge you to think about every interaction as the opportunity for intervention. If we don't ask the 19-year-old man who comes in with a stab wound about what happened, how he lives, is he going to retaliate if we just treat and street him? Will we regret it when he comes back as the victim or perpetrator of another violent crime? If we don't ask the 74-year-old woman who comes in with congestive heart failure about the food she has access to, about the transportation needs she has, the financial difficulties of obtaining medications, are we really doing our job to improve her life? And then if we don't ask the 25-year-old woman who comes in because of drug addiction about where she lives, what support does she have, and do our best to get her into treatment, will we look back and think about the life that we could have saved? In your residency, you will continue to learn about the latest scientific advances in cutting-edge medical treatments. Please do that, and please be the best doctor that you can be, because our patients deserve no less. But please also don't forget the world around our patient that we must also engage in. Ask the questions of your patients, and not just about their bodily functions, but also about their families, their homes, and their lives, as a doctor, as a leader, and as a member of the community. This is how we're going to strive for a future where Where our children live no longer determines whether they live. Not far from here, where we sit today, is Ferguson, Missouri, where 3 years ago, there were riots and unrest following the death of an unarmed African-American man named Michael Brown. And in Baltimore, where I live, in April 2015, another unarmed African-American man named Freddie Gray died while he was in police custody. The world saw Ferguson burn, and the world saw Baltimore burn too. They saw our cars on fire, they saw our stores looted, they saw our youth arrested. But as Baltimore's health commissioner, I saw something else unfold from behind the scenes. I saw Mrs. Mabel, who was a 62-year-old woman who had a heart attack a year ago and who had run out of her blood pressure pills. Her pharmacy was one of the dozen that was burned down or looted or closed, and she and 200 other seniors in her building didn't know how to get their prescriptions filled. I saw Mr. Paul, a 55-year-old man. He was a diabetic who was out of insulin, and he thought that the best way to hold out was to stop eating. I heard from many others in our city, our fellow residents who were suffering and dying. There was no instruction manual for what to do, which was scary. But what was infuriating was that there were plenty of people in our city and around the country, around the world, who were questioning whether we had to do anything at all. I mean, aren't there hundreds of pharmacies and stores in Baltimore? True, but could I tell Mrs. Mabel, who is in a wheelchair and uses an oxygen tank, to walk an extra 12 blocks to get her medications? Or could I tell Mr. Paul to board 2 buses to get insulin and groceries? The goal of medicine and public health is to go to where people are and to help them with what they need. This is what we did. When we saw our residents suffering, our health department and partners, including our local medical schools, set up a system to help every person whose health was affected. We arranged transportation to hospitals for patients who needed dialysis and chemotherapy. We figured out who needed what medications, how urgently, and we delivered them to their homes. We organized food distribution and for a way for our seniors to get groceries and other services. Now, of course, our efforts didn't end. They've continued with trying to increase food access in areas of food deserts, setting up phone hotlines and access for treatment for individuals needing mental health and addiction help, and of course also home visiting programs for our children to reduce asthma and lead poisoning. But no matter how much we do, there's still more. Just the other day, I was in clinic and I saw a patient, a woman in her 40s. She told me that just 2 years ago, she was homeless and going in and out of EDs every week. What changed for her was that she got health insurance. She was able to get her diabetes treated, her blood pressure under control. She was diagnosed with depression and alcoholism, and she got under treatment. As a result, she has a job, she has a home, she's taking care of her kids, and she has her life back. Health insurance, she told me, is her rock. At the time that I saw her, she was crying because she's now worried by everything that she's seeing in the news. And she's worried that her insurance could go, that she'll get sick, and she'll lose everything that she's worked so hard for. These times around us are uncertain times. And I know that I feel the uncertainty and challenge to my core values as an immigrant, as a woman, and as a doctor. But in times of anxiety and angst, all of us have an even greater duty to step up and be that rock for our patients. We have an even greater duty to address the disparities that bend the arc of humankind away from justice. As physicians, we are entrusted with a special privilege, a special job, to identify the injustices, to call them out, and to close the gap of disparities. All of this is hard, but I would wager that none of us went into our professions, none of us entered the school of medicine thinking that it's going to be easy. And as physicians, we would never say, this patient is too sick, too complex, we must give up. So we must apply that same energy to the larger social problems that we see. We need to fight the big fights and correct the big wrongs, because along with the privilege of being part of this rewarding and prestigious profession comes with the responsibility to tackle the most difficult challenges. The patients that other people don't want to see, who society casts aside, that's our job to serve them. Communities that other people don't want to live in or even drive through, that's our job to advocate for them. The people who are the most vulnerable, who are incarcerated, who are homeless, who have mental illness, who live in poverty, who are stigmatized in some way, that's our job to care for them. And we must not wait. Many of you have done amazing community work during medical school. Keep it up. Residency will be busy, and there will be competing priorities, but this isn't about time. This is about the attitude you choose to adopt, about the approach you choose to make, and about the lifeblood of what it means to be a doctor. So please don't wait until you finish your residency and fellowship to start. Please don't wait until you have your private practice and faculty appointment to start making a difference. If you have a patient in front of you in distress, you would never say, I'm going to wait. You would never hesitate to take action. So our communities need us now. Our society needs us now. Do not wait to care, to advocate, and to serve. Let me end by taking us back to where we started, which is celebration. I celebrate with you today your achievements and your bright futures. I feel grateful to be here with so many people who are taking on this awesome responsibility of healing. I'm inspired to be part of this family at the Washington University School of Medicine who will serve our patients, be champions for our communities, and tackle our society's injustices, who will listen, who will question, who will fight, who will serve with urgency, compassion, and action, and who will, above all, preserve dignity and respect humanity for all people. Thank you all for the privilege to join you today on this amazing, joyous occasion. Congratulations to Dean Perlmutter, faculty, staff for carrying on the tradition of this tremendous institution. Congratulations to our parents, our family, and friends for supporting these amazing minds. I applaud you, I celebrate you, I cheer you on this amazing journey towards healing and service. And finally, congratulations to class of 2017, or should I say, congratulations, doctors. Thank you very much.
It is now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Ashley Denise Osborne as the graduate who will introduce the Teacher of the Year Award recipients.
In 1966, the graduating seniors inaugurated a Teacher of the Year award to be presented to the member of the full-time faculty who, in the graduate's opinion, was the outstanding teacher whom they had encountered during their medical school years. Since 1970, each graduating class has selected two individuals, one from the preclinical faculty and another from the clinical full-time faculty, to receive a Teacher of the Year award. This year, our class has selected two faculty members for the Preclinical Teacher of the Year award. For many of us, anatomy is the standout class from our preclinical years. Dr. Conroy and Dr. Phillips-Conroy were right by our side as we encountered our very first patient. They taught us how to dissect, which nerve causes the wing scapula, and where the watershed areas of the bowel are, but they also taught us so much more. They instilled in us how becoming a physician really is a privilege. They provided us with a strong medical foundation and our role models in teaching, but also in relationships. They were always teaching material in new, creative ways and helped us identify our personal learning styles, but also how we can become teachers in the future. Their lab is where we first became physicians, and they have touched all our careers and all of our lives. They have taught generations of medical students and have entered retirement this year. It is my honor to announce Dr. Glenn C. Conroy and Dr. Jane Phillips-Conroy as the 2017 Preclinical Teachers of the Year. They were unable to be here to accept their awards in person, but have recorded a video which will now be played on the above screens.
Greetings and congratulations to the class of 2017. We honor and touched by this recognition. We can't tell you how happy we are to share this special day with you and your families, even if we have to share it with you from afar. At your graduation day, you'll be making one of the most momentous transitions in your life, moving from medical student to physician. Your graduation day also marks a momentous transition in our lives, to full-time retirement after an academic year. We empathize with the excitement and the anxiety.
3 years ago, you awarded us as the first Master of the Year. Awards we greatly cherished at that time. How lovely and meaningful it is to us that it is your class who's also given us our final teaching as we bring our careers to a close.
We all remember the first day we met you. It was a warm August Monday morning 4 years ago, the day you began your study of human anatomy. The mood of your class that morning was very different from the relaxed, cheerful, and confident mood you expressed today. And that morning was an air of nervous apprehension, anxiety, perhaps even some queasiness, and anticipation of what you were about to undertake. It was thinking we knew on that morning with reaching caution, pressure, and wish you would be grateful about returning back. And that morning we introduced you to your first patient, that man and woman whose final gift was to donate their body to your medical education, and hope that the knowledge you gained from your gift would one day help heal the sick and alleviate pain and suffering in others. And we were with you that morning as you made your first decision to heal that patient, and no one was ever the same after the experience of that. That morning you first confronted the stark and utter vulnerability of your patient, and experienced the awesome responsibility of the physician to care for those who were vulnerable themselves. And several months later, when our anatomy course was over and we walked out of the MPhil lab for the very last time, we were very different people from the ones we first met in that August morning 4 years ago. And we were there to witness your transformation that would ultimately lead to your graduation this year. There are many joys of teaching, but none as great as this remarkable transformation occurred in the 4 months of office. As you know, we are not physicians, so we are not going to school to meet patients suffering or pain or heal the sick and injured or cure their disease. But what we do know is that all of you graduating this day will do these things, and just knowing that we contributed in the slightest way to you being able to do so fills us with great joy and pride.
But one learns perhaps most at the hands of those who are not formally designated teachers. And so I'd like to acknowledge and thank the parents and families who helped develop you, helped form your character, and sustained and supported you, and who must be so immensely proud of you this day. Thank you for making our job so easy.
We thank you for enriching our lives as you help your enrichment. So we salute the class of 2017 for all that you've accomplished towards this graduation day, and for all the wonderful things you will accomplish in the future.
Teaching has truly been a Conroy family affair, one that we will live long cherished. Lena's commented on how much the passage of these 4 years has changed you and brought you into the confident young physicians you are today. I want to echo this sentence and tell you how marvelous it was to teach you, to watch your wonder and occasionally your frustration as you learned what lies ahead of us, to help you see weakness, stupidity, but perhaps more importantly, commonality and so. I know that you will soon be pledging your dedication and future. Among your vows will be, I will give to my teachers in respect and gratitude which is their due. These words remind me to give back to my own teachers, who today act on my own development. So Ashley, the class of 2017, thank you for acknowledging us among the many teachers who have helped to provide the support in their lives. Look forward to hearing of your future achievements
In 1979, Dr. Sidney S. Pearl, an alumnus of the class of 1932, established an award for inspirational teaching. Dr. Pearl stipulated the awardee was to be chosen by the graduating class from among the clinical faculty. The awardee receives a plaque, and the awardee's departmental affiliation receives a monetary gift. We are so fortunate to have had the opportunity to work with this year's recipient, Dr. Harris, during all 4 years of our medical school education. Dr. Harris has guided us through how to introduce ourselves in our very first standardized patient encounter, all the way to breaking bad news. It is clear she cares for each and every one of us and wants us to succeed. She is always approachable, non-judgmental, and is able to create a comfortable environment for us to share our experiences and works with us to improve during our patient encounters. While we were focusing heavily on mastering medical material, Dr. Harris ensured we did not forget the humanity of medicine. We and our future patients thank you, Dr. Harris. Those of us who have had the opportunity to work with her on the psychiatry rotation have seen her genuine and caring interactions with her patients, their families, her colleagues, and us medical students. She is a role model as a physician, teacher, and communicator. It is my pleasure to announce the 2017 recipient of the Sidney S. Pearl, MD 32 Clinical Teacher of the Year is Dr. Dehra Ann Harris.
Thank you so much. I cannot explain to you how grateful I am to have had the opportunity to be your teacher. Thinking about what connects everyone in this room is that we are so proud of you. And as I think about you guys coming in, first time to the SP suite, and being nervous enough to hook your stethoscope on your glasses and fling them across the room, or other things as you learned, it's really beautiful to see you now. And I really want to echo what Dr. Wynne said. I've been telling you this from the beginning. I want you to make medicine better. And I realized as I was preparing that because I've been a patient, I actually have a secret wish for you. And I want you to take care of yourselves. And I think there are going to be so many pressures, and I want you to go back and check the x-ray, and I want you to go on vacation. And I want you to do what it takes to make sure you're giving the right medicine, and then I want you to know you don't have to have all the answers. I want you to try anyway. And I am proud of the ways that you have maintained all the things that make you remarkable. It could be anthropology, it could be business, it could be international health, meditation, any of the things that makes you unique, that's actually what we need you to bring to medicine. And because I'm a mom, I want you to laugh. I want you to dance in your kitchen and be ridiculous. And if you end up going on a path where you have children, I want you to cancel clinic for choir concerts. I do. Put that in there somewhere and remember it, okay? You are taking on this beautiful responsibility, and we are lucky that you are doing that. And I also know that as you go through this, protecting who you are as a person is the best thing we can give as a gift to medicine. So I'm going to thank people who have gotten me here. Of course, Dr. Glass, my favorite co-teacher, who also wishes you all well. To Jamie Pitt, who taught me about improv and helped me to connect and become a much better teacher than I was when I first lectured to you all, hopefully. I didn't fling my stethoscope, but I'm sure I did the teaching equivalent of it. I also really want to thank Dr. Glowinski, Dr. Constantino, and Dr. Zarumsky, because they gave me a chance to be in this academic path when I had taken a non-traditional road. I want to thank my doctors, Dr. Day, Dr. Gresh, and Dr. Faddis for putting me back together again. I want to take a moment to thank my incredible children, my daughter Jaden, who teaches me strength and grace and leadership, my son, who teaches me persistence and the importance of speaking your mind. And then the most important thank you of all goes to my mom, who is here, who raised me by herself, putting herself through college one class at a time while working full-time, and taught me the meaning of education and determination, and who has given me the love that is the foundation of my life. And this is for you. Thank you very much.
Now it's time for me to say a few parting words to our graduates. On behalf of our faculty and staff, I want to tell you how happy we are for all of you, how proud of you, and we are so grateful for what you have meant to our academic medical center over the last 4 years. You have brought energy, curiosity, and intellectual challenge. As our students, you are what brings all of us, faculty and staff, together. You are the starting material, the essential substrate of our culture of learning. Yes, we have this enormous clinical practice and hundreds of research laboratories, but we are a medical school dedicated to learning, and you are the hallmark distinction of that school. So what happens next? You are going on to residency, and then perhaps fellowship. It seems a pretty well-defined path, and you will certainly be busy and immersed. Actually, you will be completely consumed. But all of us who were once in your shoes know that there will still be at least one big question for you. It will be in the back of your mind almost every day. It will be your 800-pound gorilla. How will you have your impact? How will you have your impact? From the first day that you donned your white coats, we have seen what you are capable of. We have seen your focus and drive and leadership instincts, so we know you have the capacity to improve the human condition. Isn't that really why you have been working so hard this last 4 years, this last 8 years, and even before? I want to say something more about this big question, but perhaps I can frame it in a way that is even more meaningful for you today. What will be your calling? For many of us, your faculty, we have jobs and careers, but what we find to be the most wonderful blessing is that what we do at work is a calling. Every day, in some way, we feel like our work is making a difference for people and the world around us. And it is that feeling that we wish for each of you. Why am I so sure that you can find your calling and have an impact? It's not just that I know about your capacity. It's also that I know how much the worlds of healthcare and biomedicine need you, your ideas, and your talents. We still know far too little about human disease and how to reduce pain and suffering, and you heard some of that from Dr. Wynne. We have epidemics of diabetes and asthma, and still so many in our family are dying from cancer and Alzheimer's disease. We have newly emerging infections every year like Ebola and Zika, and we're running out of ways to treat antibiotic-resistant infections. We have more than 20 million people in this country suffering from substance abuse and addiction. We still don't know anything about how to help parents take care of autistic children. We are failing in behavioral health in so many ways, including veterans with depression and post-traumatic stress syndrome. The timing could not be more exquisite. I truly believe that you are at a tipping point, at a time in which truly revolutionary discoveries and changes in healthcare are possible. We're just beginning to realize what we can do with gene sequence data and a new paradigm for redefining disease that's based on personal genomic variations. Gene editing techniques are allowing us to create models of human disease that were never before possible. We are at the cusp of using our understanding of the microbiome to do something about malnutrition and obesity and autoimmune disease. The power of our basic science is simply breathtaking. I recently listened to a young neuroscientist describing his work on the biochemical basis of memory, what molecules change in neurons. Imagine having the ability to describe at a molecular level how a memory is formed. On the healthcare side, we urgently need innovations to reduce cost. Healthcare now consumes 19% of the gross domestic product of this country, and there are estimates, probably underestimates, that taking care of Alzheimer's disease alone will cost our next generation $1 trillion per year. So we need leadership in innovation, and at the same time reducing the cost of healthcare. And who better to do that than graduates of Washington University School of Medicine? What will be your calling, and how will you realize it? For me, it happened several years after I graduated from medical school. I knew when I graduated that I wanted to help families with sick children, but I had no idea how I was going to do it, and no idea, really no idea, of what I was capable of. I had incredible experiences at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. We were taking care of very sick children from the poorest of neighborhoods in West Philadelphia. It was not everyday stuff. For the families from West Philadelphia, it was obvious that we were essential to the survival of the most precious thing in their lives, their children. During my residency was the height of the epidemic of Reye syndrome. Reye syndrome is very rare nowadays because we learned that it was largely produced by aspirin, somehow interacting with mitochondrial metabolism, only affecting children. It was an absolutely terrible problem associated with marked intracranial hypertension, and it affected mostly healthy older children and adolescents. Nobody knew what to do about it. In our hospital, the intensivists tried pentobarbital coma, hypothermia, and later craniectomy, removing a part of the skull to relieve the pressure. And none of it worked. At one point, we would walk into the pediatric ICU and there would be 15 children with part of their cranium removed, about to die. It had a profound effect on us. And I say us because I met my wife there, and now we have been married for 36 years. And in our lives together, we have shared that deeply meaningful feeling of how our work mattered for families. We then went to Boston Children's Hospital as fellows, and that is where I came to see my calling. For my fellowship research experience, I worked with a brilliant professor, and eventually we decided that I would work on something called alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency. We knew that this disease caused liver failure in some children. Liver transplantation was just starting to become effective, but insurance companies were not covering the liver transplant, and so if the families couldn't raise $300,000, those children could not get that care, and they were left to die. For my project, I needed cells from these children, and I would drive all over New England to their homes to collect the blood samples. I would find myself in a 1- or 2-room apartment in a very poor neighborhood. I would have to use a kitchen table and the help of the mother to draw the blood from the child. On many of these occasions, the whole family would be there in the kitchen, watching and helping me and expressing gratitude that I was working on the problem. I experienced something that I had not expected. And this experience, not a day goes by that I am not reminded of it. They had to deal with the knowledge that nothing could be done to save their children. They could have been so frustrated and resentful, and yet they were thankful that there was a doctor who was promised to work on the problem. And since then, I've had so many experiences with families for whom the work in my lab was meaningful and special. And now, years later, I can tell you, with work with my collaborators, that we have a pipeline of drugs and one drug in the clinical trial that may prevent liver failure in these children. To the class of 2017, I promise you, if I can do that kind of thing, so can you. And if my mother was here today to tell your parents, she would say, I still don't understand what he does, but if he did it, you can do it. What will be your calling? Jordan Stanley and Jessica Fan. You are among your peers going into neurology. Are one of you going to help solve the devastating problems of Alzheimer's disease? Kevin Cross, Agnes Dardis, you are going to be surgeons. Will you follow in the footsteps of Tim Eberlein, who has worked tirelessly to improve care for women affected by breast cancer? Tim will tell you that we desperately need to identify signatures, genomic or epigenomic, which will distinguish women with truly progressive breast cancer because we are overtreating 70 to 80% at great cost personally and financially. Giuseppe D'Amelio and Tim Lauman, you are among your peers going into psychiatry. Will you lead in helping to develop systems providing better access to behavioral health? Or get into basic research to discover cures for schizophrenia or targets for treatment of autism? Taylor Geisman, Ethan Tobias, and Janice Kim, internal medicine. We hope that one or more of you will get inspired to do something about public health issues, like our guest speaker, Lena Wynne. Or maybe you will follow in the footsteps of Vicki Frazier, trying to develop new ways to prevent infections in hospital. Lindsay Burton and Miriam Ben Abdallah, you are going into OBGYN. Can you help us to develop programs that will prevent premature labor? Hillary Gallen, anesthesiology. Can we develop better drugs for pain and anesthesia that are lower in addictive properties? Ken McNeil, Austin Wesovich, and Anita Chari, are you going to take your passion for global health to impact the poor and underserved in the greater world around us that so desperately needs advocates? And please never forget the lessons you have learned here from your teachers and mentors about compassion. This is such an important part of your education so far, and you must keep working at it. When people come to you for medical care, they are always at their most vulnerable. In many cases, it is not just your skill and your knowledge, but the little things that make a difference for your patients, knowing them, being there at the critical moments, giving them confidence that the next step is the right step. You will be surprised at how important these simple things are to families at vulnerable moments. I love how this is described in Atul Gawande's book, Being Mortal, and so we have left a copy of the book for each of you at your seats as a gift from the school today. I want to end with one of several great comments made by John Lennon. Yes, John Lennon of the Beatles. He had so many great songs, and I love all of his off-the-record comments. One of his best is, life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans. But the quote that I want to give you today goes like this. When I was 5 years old, my mother told me that happiness was the key to life. When I went to school, they asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wrote down happy. They told me I didn't understand the assignment, and I told them they did not understand life. It's now time for each of you to go on from here to find your calling and to fulfill it, always with compassion. We know you can do it, And we know with those things, you will live a life that John Lennon's mother envisioned for you, a happy one. Congratulations, graduates of 2017. It is now my pleasure to introduce the Chancellor of Washington University, Dr. Mark Wrighton. Dr. Wrighton is the 14th Chancellor in the 164-year history of Washington University. He is a brilliant chemist, starting with his PhD studies at Caltech, which he completed at 22 years of age. He then joined the faculty at MIT, where he carried out groundbreaking work on photochemistry and the use of transition metals to develop electrochemical devices. He was promoted to professor in 5 years, and he was awarded a MacArthur Foundation Genius Grant 10 years after he started his lab at MIT. Over the last 27 years, he has dedicated himself to leadership in higher education, first as provost at MIT, and then for the last 22 years as chancellor here. Chancellor Wrighton has played key roles nationally in so many ways, but I just want to mention, because of its emergence as exquisitely important, that he served as a presidential appointee to the National Science Board, the Science Policy Advisor to the President and Congress, and the National Science Foundation. His impact on American education has been enormous, in particular as a force for global involvement with his revolutionary McDonald International Scholars Academy and many other accomplishments that have continued the tradition of academic excellence and important contributions to society by Washington University. Please join me in welcoming Chancellor Wrighton to give some remarks today.
Thanks very much, David. Thank you for your leadership, and thank you for sharing a part of your story that leads you to be the great academic leader in medicine that you are. The faculty are really outstanding, both in the preclinical areas and in clinical areas, in areas that are advancing medical research. It's really a reward and very stimulating to have the opportunity to interact with them. To our graduates, you started here as the best medical students in America. You leave as the best graduates in America. And we have very high expectations. Dr. Wynne, from whom you've heard, is a role model. She is an outstanding leader, and it was a real privilege to have the opportunity to hear from her. I'd like you to join me in thanking her once again for her great contribution. These best students have done many things while they've been here, aside from earning their medical doctorates. Austin Wesovich, who has been noted already, is in your program as one of the musicians. He sang the alma mater at our commencement, and he knows a lot about academic medicine. He knows that because he participated in the search process that brought us David Perlmutter. So he is an illustration of what our medical students can do. Medical doctorates have enormous responsibilities to the people they serve. I'm not a medical expert of any kind. I've learned about academic medicine during my tenure as chancellor. Many people before I came said, oh, this is going to be a very big challenge for you. Medical schools are big headaches. But I found it to be really a great part of my reward in being here at Washington University. It's provided me an opportunity to continue to learn and to appreciate just how important the world of academic medicine is. A couple of illustrations. In this academic year, one of our first-year students at the undergraduate level on the Danforth campus suffered sudden cardiac arrest. Fortunately, his roommate was there. This happened in his residence hall. The first responders were terrific, but when he arrived here at Barnes Jewish Hospital, he was unconscious. He was in cardiac intensive care, and it wasn't clear at the outset whether he would even survive. His family from California came as quickly as they could, and ultimately he was revived, he regained consciousness, and in just a few weeks, I'm sure it was a difficult several weeks for his family, but he recovered, and even within the fall semester, he resumed his academic studies. That's the kind of miracle that's being done all the time by Washington University clinicians, and I know that our medical doctorate graduates today are going to be involved in just that sort of thing. I know that several of you are continuing with Washington University and Barnes Jewish Hospital or St. Louis Children's Hospital to continue your medical education. I may see you in one way or another in the hospitals. At commencement on the Danforth campus this morning, we had Anna Quindlen as our speaker. And recall that she said, be kind. Be kind. And she said, be kind to yourself. And one of the things that gave me pause is she said, give up that 80-hour work week. I suspect many of you were thinking about that also. And it caused me to have to reconsider what Paul Gray, the former MIT president, said to me. He said, Mark, every person just has 24 hours in a day. Then he paused and said, and then there are nights. And I know for medical doctors who take their responsibilities seriously that there are days and there are nights, and your lives are full. Anna Quindlen also said, be bold, be fearless. Don't just proceed along a prescription. There are going to be opportunities that come your way that are completely unexpected. And my advice to you in this regard is do not turn down an unusual opportunity before you fully consider it. I have to tell you that when I was a PhD student at Caltech, my aspiration was to be a research scientist at a major corporation like the DuPont Company or AT&T or IBM. I had no idea that I would even go into academia, let alone become a chancellor. So be receptive to these opportunities as they come along. They may challenge you in terms of your thoughts about what you would be, but you have the potential to do a great many things that are going to make a difference in this world. Finally, inasmuch as I may be seeing some of you, let me tell you a little personal story of my own about medical care. I was recruited to Washington University after extensive interviews involving a 24-person search committee. The search committee was led by the former chairman of the board, Bill Van Cleve. There were students, there were alumni, there were faculty, there were members of the staff. It was really a very impressive process, and I feel fortunate to have survived it. And I accepted the opportunity. 6 years later, I found myself entering a surgical procedure here at Washington University School of Medicine. And some of you may be looking to me eye to eye professionally. I was having corrective alignment of my eyes. And I was being anesthetized, and you know, you're getting a little down and a little unresponsive. And a young woman came up to me and looked over the gurney, and she said, "Do you remember me?" And I said, no. And she said, well, I was on the search committee that led to your appointment. I was a medical student. And I'm now going to be assisting in the surgery. That faculty member today is Susan Cullican, a member of our Department of Ophthalmology, and I'm grateful to her and to the great team here at Washington University. I hope that all with whom you interact will have the same outcomes that I have had as I've had procedures here at Washington University School of Medicine. But as Dr. Wynne pointed out, not all of your patients are going to make it. You carry an enormous responsibility to continue to serve that patient even after their passing. You will carry the responsibility of communicating with the family and supporting them through what is the greatest transition from life to death. I thank you for the commitment that you've made to make the world a better place. I look forward to seeing your contributions in the future, and thank you for being the greatest graduates. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Chancellor Wrighton, for those wonderful words. It is my great pleasure now to introduce Dr. Miriam Rose Ben Abdallah, President of the Class of 2017. Miriam, would you please come forward? Where is she? Oh, there you are.
Thank you. Hey, team. Thank you, Dean Perlmutter. And thank you, Dr. Wynne, again. We've been looking forward to your speech for so long, and it was above and beyond all of our expectations. You're really an inspiration for what we can all accomplish with our Washington University degree. Dear family, friends, and faculty, and most importantly, my fellow new doctors, as surreal as it seems, we finally made it. We have been through so much together, and none of it would have been possible without the love and support of everyone in this room. So thank you so much for all being here as we have this milestone in our lives. Now briefly, today's graduation and commencement ceremonies are a milestone, of course, for the class of 2017 and for all of you here, but it's also a milestone in the history of Washington University, and this is due to the community and support created by the class of 2017. We have so many of our classmates who are already working to break down barriers in medicine and science and in social affairs. And due to our work, we've created a new system within WashU. So in the history of WashU, the 127 years that you mentioned, we have only ever had 4 female graduation speakers. Dr. Wynne is our 4th. We have also only ever elected 4 female students to serve as class president, and none before the class of 2017 completed a 4-year term and spoke at graduation. So I am honored that my last act as president is speaking to you on our graduation day. So thank you very much. You all have really created a milestone for this university. So at this milestone, I have the fun task of recounting all the miles that we have taken to get here and thank everyone who has helped us on this journey. So for most of us, the journey began in August of 2013. And if you're unfamiliar, August in St. Louis is horrible. It's about 95 degrees and 95% humidity every day, all day, which ironically is about what it feels like underneath these graduation robes. Many of us came from far and wide for WUMP and orientation and felt the blow of that heat and humidity and thought, dear God, what have I done? 4 years of this? But soon that was forgotten as we saw the 123 faces of our friends that were going to accompany us on this journey. Getting to know our classmates was no small feat, with multiple sets of twins, and even more people who share the same name, we found ourselves saying, I'm sorry, which Lindsay and wait, which Jordan? Which Lindsay and Jordan are you talking about? We said this over and over and over. But eventually we got the hang of it, and classes soon commenced. We had our first lectures, received our first patients, as the Conroys affectionately called it. We met our advisors. Hey, Dean Chung. We struggled to find structures in histology, and we laughed hysterically at all of Dr. DeCranian's jokes, or at least the way he pronounced gubernaculum. We learned that Washington University students work really hard, but we also play hard. We had ample time in first year for extracurricular activities, and we excelled in student group leadership, intramural sports. Brandon still has that trophy from the softball game, there you are. We also excelled at making a mess in the Olin penthouse at class parties, where we raised a glass to Abie and helped Harleen find her Tamagotchi. The semester progressed and our medical knowledge expanded, and we felt like we were really getting the hang of this doctor thing. That was until we went home for winter break and were bombarded with questions from friends and family members about their various ailments and rashes. We realized not only did we know nothing, but we didn't want to be dermatologists. No offense, James Go. The year went on, and before we knew it, first year was gone in a flash, and we spent that last and best summer diving into research, learning about primary care and public policy, and doing global health work in places like Malawi and Guatemala. The summer also went by faster than we could imagine, and we entered what we thought was going to be the worst year of our lives, second year, where letter grades and intense coursework awaited us. And while a lot of things were different in second year, the majority of it was the same. Our class's camaraderie kept us sane, not to mention Inky Maverick and our educational savior, Robert B.J. Wang, who's the actual reason most of these doctors are sitting before you today. We still enjoyed our extracurricular activities, and for some of us, applicant pizza was still 80% of our caloric intake. Rachel Stern, where you at? Second year was full of an entire new lexicon of ailments, pathology, step 1 study aids, you name it. Our friends and family still supported us, as we called them, every 3 to 5 weeks, freaking out that we weren't going to pass these exams. And we all owe a special thank you to Dr. Wenders for treating our med student syndrome, as she assured us that with every cough and sniffle, we just had a common cold and it was not lymphoma. Second year and step 1 flew by, and we put on our white coats, still crisp and clean, and entered the hospital trying not to look as nervous as we felt. We said goodbye to our MSTP friends. Hey, Kayla. And we said hello to some new MSTP friends who brought to our class some much-needed perspective and life experience. Clinical work was hard. For the first time in most of our lives, we didn't have a multiple choice question to answer. We didn't have an Anki deck for this, and we had to figure out what to do. But what we did have was an amazing team to help guide us through those first years of clinical work. We had our wonderful faculty who were on stage with me. We had residents, fellows, our fellow classmates. We had nurses, but most importantly, we had our patients who showed us every day exactly what it takes and what it means to be an MD. Third year was long and hard, but what it mostly was an invigorating reminder of why we got into this in the first place and what our future careers will hold. And then came fourth year, which was mostly a great waiting game. We mastered sub-Is. We realized how much we learned in third year and felt pretty accomplished. We traveled for a ways and went to every corner of the country for residency interviews just to be asked the same 5 questions every time. We branched out of our chosen subspecialties and found time for an ICU month. We found time to travel to places like India and Haiti for global health work. We enjoyed the laziness of a reading block and finished up our research projects, unless you're me and June Wang, and then you just found a way to punt them to a third year. We reviewed everything we needed to know for intern year and capstone and realized we still knew nothing when we did our acute care management session. And then match day came, and we cheered on our successes and we cheered on our friends. These last few weeks have been busy, planning weddings, getting engaged, filming the last class show, putting together the yearbook, and tying up loose ends in St. Louis, that city that greeted us so warmly those 4 short years ago. 4 years goes by so fast, and our 4 years are filled with the most amazing memories, experiences, and knowledge. As we move on to the next phase of our life, I'd ask you to remember a memory from the beginning in an effort to, as Washi would say, close the loop. At our white coat ceremony, our beloved Dean Michael Awad gave a speech where he instructed us on how to keep our white coats white. We soon realized that he meant this figuratively because this is literally an impossible task. He asked us to remember our values, hold tight to them, and the reasons why we wanted to be a doctor in the first place. He urged us to practice with compassion, integrity, and understanding. Dr. Awad, Dr. Moscoso, Dr. Ross, and all the other faculty on stage, along with everyone at WashU, have worked endlessly to make sure that we have the medical and social knowledge to fight for our patients, to recognize our unconscious bias and the implications it has on our practice, and to be the leaders that bring about a much-needed change to our troubled medical system. Lena Wynne talked extensively about issues that we learned about first and second year and saw firsthand these past 2 years. As we move forward, I'd like you to remember all those lessons that we learned at WashU and the lessons we learned from each other as we struggled through these last 4 years. I'd also like you to remember all the help and support you got from everybody else in this room. And while we're about to cross the stage as individuals, let us think about this ceremony truly as a celebration of all of those who invested in us and our ability to succeed. So thank you to each and every person in this room for making this moment possible for us. And congratulations to the class of 2017.
Thanks so much, Miriam, for those wonderful words and for your leadership. 32 years ago, the class of 1984 decided to take a professional oath and chose a modified version of the 1948 Declaration of Geneva. This year, we've asked Dr. Mary E. Klingensmith to lead the class in the oath. Dr. Klingensmith serves as the Mary Culver Distinguished Professor of Surgery and Vice Chair for Education in the Department of Surgery, and is the Senior Associate Dean for Education. Will Dr. Klingensmith please come to the podium?
Congratulations, graduates. I'm so pleased and honored to be part of this day with you and to be part of the journey that brings you to this day. You're passing an important milestone today with your graduation, but so many other milestones have been passed during your time here, which have matured you into compassionate, knowledgeable, and able doctors. For me personally, it's been a delight to witness your transition and transformation. From the sometimes struggling small group participant in POM to the first tentative and then later more certain contributor to patient care on the surgical clerkship. Witnessing you blossom your application of knowledge in the simulation center, when you became uncertain in your trauma simulations, but then later and more recently seeing you come back for capstone where you had put it all together and knew what to do. You're ready for what lies ahead as you've gained so much knowledge and understanding in your time here in medical school. Best of luck with the exciting days ahead. Remember what you have learned with us and apply it with compassion and good cheer. I now ask that the graduates rise and recite with me the Declaration of Geneva. This can be found in the back of your program. At the time of being admitted as a member of the medical profession, I solemnly pledge myself to consecrate my life to the service of humanity. I will give to my teachers the respect and gratitude which is their due. I will practice my profession with conscience and dignity. The health of my patient will be my first consideration. I will respect the secrets which are confided in me. I will maintain by all means in my power the honor and the noble traditions of the medical profession. I will not permit consideration of religion, nationality, race, party politics, or social standing to intervene between my duty and my patient. I will maintain the utmost respect for human life, even under threat. I will not use my medical knowledge contrary to the laws of humanity. I make these promises solemnly, freely, and upon my honor. Congratulations.
Thanks so much, Mary. It is my honor now to introduce Dr. Lisa Moscoso, Associate Dean for Student Affairs. You all know Lisa. She's our rock. She received her MD and her PhD from Washington University in 1998, and she is co-director of the hospital medicine program in the Department of Pediatrics. Would Dr. Lisa Moscoso please come forward to address the class of 2017 and to now award the diplomas? Lisa.
Okay. In a minute, when you receive your diploma, I'm going to pronounce all of your names, which we practiced. Anna Quinlan told us this morning that's what she remembered from her graduation, so I'm going to try to get it right. When I was preparing for this job, I visited some of the tallest and oldest trees on Earth, an old-growth redwood forest. Some of these trees are 800 years old, and they're as tall as a football field put on its side. Amazing. And did you know that the ancestral trees, when they die, fall over and create nourishment and collect water for the trees, their progeny that grow up around them? So you go to this forest and you see a circle of trees that are nourished and grow tall as football fields, surrounded by a fallen ancestor. Underneath this circle of trees, this family of trees, are a network of roots that Miriam talked about that support us, that support each other, to form these intricate and strong and resilient networks that help the trees stand tall. This reminded me of you all, and it reminded me of your achievement, and that we cannot achieve without the work of our ancestors and the support of this network, this intricate network of roots and support that you've created here that allow you to stand tall. In nature's beauty, I remember the words a native once told me. We were on a hike in a forest, and there was a loud waterfall, and he stopped, and he said, "Shh, be quiet. The ancestors are here." And so we did. And I remember in the forest with those old trees that were so tall in that awesome beauty, and I stopped and was quiet. And there was something bigger than me there, and the ancestors were there. And I'm noticing in this room that I see that your ancestors are present. Some that we can see around the room, and some unseen that are present in different ways, maybe in our memories, or maybe in our hearts. So, in the presence of everyone here, in this sacred moment, and beauty, this natural beauty that you have created and your families have created, I will proudly pronounce all of your names, all the names of these new doctors. And so, it is time. Will Dr. Perlmutter, Dr. Michael Awad, Associate Dean for Medical Student Education, and Mr. Tom Evola, Assistant Dean for Academic Affairs, please come forward for the awarding of the diplomas. The presentation of the degrees will have the following format. Although a few graduates are unable to attend the program today, I will announce the full name of each graduate of the class of 2017. In addition, in your program is a listing of awards and prizes recognizing the outstanding accomplishments of our graduates. Graduates, these awards and prizes will be found in your diploma. In addition, I believe on the slides we'll be able to see where everybody's headed after commencement. So traditionally, the first Doctor of Medicine degree diploma is awarded to the president of the graduating class. Will Dr. Miriam Rose Ben Abdallah please come forward and accept her diploma? Yay, Mir. The first group of graduates completed 6 or more years of medical education and research and are receiving both a Doctor of Medicine degree and a Doctor of Philosophy degree. Will the first row of graduates please rise and proceed to the stage? As I read your name, you'll cross the stage. Miriam will be over here to shake your hand. And then you'll shake hands with Dean Perlmutter and Dean Awad. Dr. Matthew Ryan Breyer. Dr. Anita Nankumar Chari. Dr. Edwin Chen. Dr. David Yao Amoa Dade. Dr. Jennifer Marie Enright. Dr. Barish John Urkel and his son, Azmi. Dr. Matthew Frederick Glasser. Dr. Carl David Hacker. Dr. Makia Cherie Henderson. Dr. Brandon Blake Holmes. Dr. Catherine Marie Holtzum. Dr. Xiaojing Huang. Dr. Andrew Philip Jaluk. Dr. Nicole Marie Kretzer. Dr. Hunter Lanier. Oh, and a small one, whose name is? Henry. Dr. Timothy Otto Lawman. Dr. Arthur S. Lee. Dr. Jeffrey Leong could not be with us today. Dr. Christine Zhou Luo. Dr. Priya Pal could not be with us here today. Dr. Sunmin Park. Dr. Joseph Planer. Dr. Tara Jean Rao, who could not be with us today. Dr. David Aaron Russler Germain, and Leo. Dr. Ellen Merrick Schill. Dr. Nicholas Paul Semenkovich. Dr. Satish Subramanian. Dr. Diana Yi Zhao. The next graduates have completed a full year of research training in addition to the medical program and are receiving both a Doctor of Medicine degree and a Master of Arts degree. Dr. Lucy Bell Bollinger. Dr. Paul Gowdy Gamble. Dr. Amy Zhang Chu. The next graduates have completed a full year of advanced study in addition to the medical program and are receiving both a Doctor of Medicine degree and a Master of Population Health Sciences degree. Dr. Anshul Bansal. Dr. Nicole Suzanne Benzoni. Dr. Alok Patel. The next graduate has completed a year's plus worth of coursework in public health through the Brown School of Social Work in addition to the MD program, and he is receiving both a Doctor of Medicine degree and a Master of Public Health degree. Dr. Austin James Wesovich. The next group of graduates has completed a full year of clinical research training in addition to the medical program and is receiving both a Doctor of Medicine degree and a Master of Science in Clinical Investigation degree. Dr. Agnes Zizis Dardis. Dr. Vanessa Lynn Kronzer could not be with us today. Dr. Chinwe Christine Madubata. Dr. Alejandro Francisco Sierra, Jr. Dr. Scott Andrew Skillington. Dr. Michael Joseph Slade. Dr. James Thomas Vandenberg. Dr. Daphne Ying Xiao could not be with us today. And the following graduates are receiving a Doctor of Medicine degree. Dr. Colin Bakhorn. Dr. Asanti Badu. Dr. Ari Nachum Berlin. Dr. Miles Jordan Bachanich. Dr. Laura Annette Bliss. Dr. Sean Logan Boone. Dr. Lindsay Maloney Burton. Dr. Jody Chang. Dr. Ishida Chen and her son Mason. Dr. Jenny Zhao Chen. Dr. Tingying Chi. Dr. Nathaniel Dow Coddington. Dr. Jordan Janae Cole. Dr. Lindsay Diane Cole. Dr. Rachel Sarah Corbin. Dr. Kevin Cross. Dr. Giuseppe Salvatore D'Amelio IV. Dr. Jennifer Tan Duong. Dr. Jessica Fan. Dr. Stephen Ernest Foost. Dr. Hillary Yablon Gallen. Dr. Rachel Gartland. Dr. Taylor Elizabeth Geisman. Dr. Colton Charles Gitz. Dr. Tracy Lynn Godbold. Dr. Arjun Gokhale. Dr. Harleen Kaur Graywall. Dr. Shannon Lee Ritz. Dr. Abie Lawrence Ebiebele. Dr. Jordan Michael Haquez. Dr. Jared James. Dr. Michael Gardner James. Dr. Janice S. Kim. Dr. James Coe. Dr. Sangeeta Krishnan. Dr. Randy Olivier Lane. Dr. Julia Meredith Lang. Dr. Adam Nathaniel Letvin. Dr. Kevin Kai Lee. Dr. Zhe Liang. Dr. Charlotte Lin. Dr. Miranda Renee Lindberg. Dr. Andrew Daniel Linkhugel. Dr. Austin James Losey. Dr. Carly Frances Lorbeer could not be with us today. Dr. Yuntong Ma. Dr. Kenneth Dewey McNeil. Dr. Michael Joseph Madigan, Jr. Dr. Martha Morris Orms McGilvray. Dr. Nehauli Mahesh Mehta. Dr. Melissa Faye Meyer. Dr. Kelly Sue Millman. Dr. Shruti Mishra. Dr. Anna Cates Mosley. Dr. Emily Duke Mosley. Dr. Sherry Diane Osterreich could not be with us today. Dr. Ashley Denise Osborne. Dr. Bree Ann Porcelli. Dr. Amanda Hart Reese. Dr. Arith Ruth Selda Reyes. Dr. Gregory Lewis Ripberger could not be with us today. Dr. Anna Gabrielle Rivera. Dr. Brandon Lewis Rogalski. Dr. Elizabeth Dyer Rosenberg. Dr. Allison Page Shelby. Dr. Abraham Segura. Dr. Carol Liu Shen. Dr. Ching-Che Shen. Dr. Tony Shen. Dr. Jordan Taylor Standley. Dr. Rachel Aviva Stern. Dr. Abby Sung. Dr. Elisa Sansani Tanakit. Dr. Mengxian Tang. Dr. Rosie Diane Tang. Dr. Ethan Mark Tobias. Dr. Chetan Venkata Vakalagada. Dr. Nicholas Wesley Vryhoff. Dr. Francis Clow Wallace. Dr. June Ariella Wang. Dr. Robert Sibo Wang. Dr. Daniel Martin Wiesel. Dr. Francis Shodi Wu. Dr. Chi Xiao could not be with us today. Dr. Michael Yang. Dr. Nai Shen Yeet. Dr. Deborah Wendy Yen. Dr. Jenny Lijung Yu. Dr. Sonia Nasun Yu. Dr. Lily Yili Zhang. Dr. James Zoe. Ladies and gentlemen, the class of 2017. This concludes the 2017 Commencement Recognition Ceremony for the Washington University School of Medicine. Following the recessional, you're cordially invited to join the graduates in celebrating at a reception hosted by the School of Medicine and the Medical Center Alumni Association in the Washington Street lobby, located at the front of the building past Hall 1. So when you exit the theater, make a left and continue down the hall. Faculty and graduates, please rise for the recessional.